you guys can gain something from this video and seeing our technique. So there were about 3 takeaways that I got from Chris's session. The first one being my breathing, the importance of my breathing and its effect on like intensity and explosiveness and maximum contractions, which we really did focus on in our session. The second thing was full range of motion. We did use a lot of machines and stuff and focus on getting a nice full stretch, and then even coming all the way through to like a protracted position on a lot of the presses and things like that. And then the last thing that we really focused a ton on was pausing at the top and the bottom of each motion to make sure that we're not using any momentum, as well as getting a full stretch and full contraction, like I said. So really gonna focus on those things. Tyler's here today. He's gonna push me through the workout because we did do some force reps when we were with Chris, usually like 3 to 5 in each exercise, force reps per set. Dumbbell press rather than this, but we're starting with the machine instead. Still the same principles that we're gonna be applying with inward intention, so focusing on driving across the body, and then at the top of the motion, almost pushing through our thumbs and trying to touch together at the top. Think about pressing your elbows together. One thing with using a machine that I do really like is you can get into that deep stretch position, especially on a flat press, without compromising your shoulder joint or your bicep tendon or anything like that. So I'm gonna get nice and deep in this, go a little bit lighter, and then also follow all the way through. I was starting to get into that mindset of like keep retracted, keep everything tight, and that's when I started to have issues with my shoulder joint stuff. Whereas allowing my scapula to move through the full range of motion is gonna be a lot better for contracting my pec, and it's gonna be a lot less risk of me hurting my bicep tendon or shoulder joint. If you notice on pretty much every rep, especially on the first few, what I'm doing is I'm driving through, getting the full range, taking like a second, getting that full contraction, then driving through again for another like 2 to 3 seconds, just holding it. Like super common in a lot of gyms, but you can use any flat press and you can do the exact same thing. Just focus on driving your hands across your body and try to bring them in as tight together as possible. I do like focusing on pushing from my elbows together almost, because it does just force that nice contraction, so it feels good. So second machine, incline machine press. When we trained with Chris, what he had us doing was literally just 3 sets per exercise. Basically just said, just work to failure on 2 of those 3 sets. The first one could just be a warm up, getting the movement down. But whenever he was making us work to absolute failure or past failure, we were pushing the limit, just as you saw in that last set with Tyler. Implementing that into my training a little bit more. It's definitely something that Chris taught us. That increases the intensity like crazy, but doesn't just shoot yourself by doing so much volume. So we're gonna use this machine, try to hit our upper pec. Same principles pretty much as the flat press, where we're still focusing on the inward intention, allowing it to protract fully, and just driving through our thumbs as much as possible. With any pressing movement, I'll keep my thumb gripped around the bar so I can really drive through it. Takes out the forearm and wrist stability aspect of it. Whereas with fly movements, I'll like to drive through my palm and just wrap my thumb around like this. One thing training with Chris is having a coach or a partner that can cue you on the right thing. So Tyler, for example, has been working with Chris for years, so he knows the exact cues that he needs to keep me in focus on so that I don't get injured, especially when we're pushing past failure. So it's always good having a partner or coach who knows how to train properly, because you just have to focus on squeezing so hard that you literally would not be able to get the same amount of reps. There's way less risk of injury. Feel that maximum contraction. When Chris forced me through that extra range with the light weight, it feels way harder than using heavy weight. And I realized how much of a pussy I was being by just lifting super heavy. You get like 6, 7 reps or however many it is, rather than getting like 15. We got the opportunity to train with Dorian Yates, another legendary bodybuilder just like Chris. He basically said that he never does a flat press because it puts too much stress on the bicep tendon and the shoulder joint in general. So he recommends doing like a slight decline. If this wasn't broken, I would put this basically on the lowest setting. It's probably like what, like a 15-degree decline max, and it's very subtle, but it pretty much fully takes it off of your bicep. I realized that I can get my elbows really deep and drive and kind of almost do like a scooping motion, so I'm still keeping that inward intention without it going on my bicep. So we're finishing with pec deck. Chris recommends keep your elbows relatively high on this. I think Tyler's gonna force a few reps just because I can on my last and I really want to just burn out. And then what I'm gonna do, put this foam pad behind my back, because this machine's pretty big in general. I like being able to get a good stretch without it going on my bicep too much. As I come through, I'm gonna try to touch my palms together, and then as I come back, I let my wrists fall into like a neutral position so that it doesn't go on my forearms. like 4 exercises and only like 3 to 4 sets per exercise. Absolutely destroyed my chest. My chest is absolutely dead. One of the main takeaways that I got from training with Chris was his breathing techniques and just overall intensity to his training. Having someone like him or Tyler push me through those last sets without compromising my joints and stuff really just absolutely wrecks your chest or whatever muscle group that you're training. So this is something that I'm going to be implementing a lot more, is having Tyler, Braden behind the camera, whoever it is, pushing me through those extra last sets and building that intensity up.